In the face of financial and economic problems happening around the world, an interesting trend is emerging quite noticeably. That is the emerging number of women taking the lead of national as well as global governance and institutions. Recently, Indonesia hosted two of the most powerful women in international affairs. Other than Christine Lagarde, coinciding with her trip to the archipelago, was the first visit made by Germany's Chancellor, Angela Merkel, to Indonesia. Being at the helm to steer Europe out of its crisis, Merkel emerges as a tough figure with the burden of the survival of the Eurozone resting on her shoulders. Other women leaders currently in top posts traditionally reserved for men include Dilma Rousseff, President of Brazil, Yingluck Shinawatra, Prime Minister of Thailand, and Julia Gillard, Prime Minister of Australia, and Sheikh Hasina Wajid, Prime Minister of Bangladesh, along with other renowned women leaders like Hillary Clinton and Aung San Suu Kyi. I asked Minister Gita if this is a phenomenon worthy of note.
I'm curious to know your observation on the role of women in finance, especially in global finance. We have the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, obviously, now at the helm. We have Christine Lagarde, the chief of the IMF, and we have Sri Mulyani, even in the World Bank. Is there something that is a phenomenon behind this? I mean, what's your take on these women?
I don't think it'll just be limited to the World Bank, the IMF, and Germany and Indonesia. I think it will be pretty viral across the world. And it boils down to competence. If we take a look at each one of these female personalities, they're highly, highly competent personalities, and they have proven in every respect that they are worthy of the role that would have been bestowed upon them. I think you'll see this in more parts of the world. Now, in terms of the role of women, I recall the conversation with, between Lagarde and the president a few days ago. She basically was pretty pointed in the fact that, and the possibility of, women playing a greater role in facilitating financing, not just in terms of managing risks, but also a greater role of facilitating the whole infrastructure for financing. And this is something that she pointedly raised as an item she would need to check off the box with the Financial Stability Board, the president of the World Bank. So she's pretty serious about it.
I mean, we've seen, for example, in Bangladesh, Grameen Bank focuses specifically on women.
Yes, and it's proven that the role of women has helped manage delinquencies. Women are probably less likely to be delinquent than
they're good at paying
men.
back their debts.
I'm not trying to generalize here, but I think there's a reason. I think it's something to be noted.
In Indonesia too, more and more women are taking on leadership roles. Often they cast a lone figure in a world dominated by the male counterparts. I asked top banker Felia Salim for her perspectives and the challenges often faced by women in high places.
Of course, you, as somebody in the banking industry, we have the Chancellor of Germany, who's a woman, and the IMF Managing Director, who's a woman, without being sort of too gender-based about this, is what do you think of as somebody who moves in the man's world, so to speak?
Yeah.
What are the main challenges that these women face, especially when it comes to dealing with so-called very masculine sort of types of positions that they hold?
Well, I think part of the energy, obviously, I think has to do with having to convince or changing mindsets of your male counterparts. I think that's true at any level of hierarchy in business, governments, and I'm sure also even in the IMF and Mrs. Merkel in her cabinet. I'm pretty sure of it.
And there's also this feeling, the financial crisis, or the economic crisis, maybe they were caused by this very sort of, very aggressive masculine kind of behavior. And then suddenly, the women have to clean things up and sort things out. Do you get that feeling? I mean, especially being a woman in the financial
that
world.
obviously it would appear that way. But from my senses and having had discussions with various women leaders, it seems that women have to take that extra mile, that extra step to bring everybody on the same page. And that is quite painstaking at times, but it's a necessary process. Yeah. But when you reach a certain level, obviously the buck needs to stop somewhere, and you make decisions, whether or not it's popular or unpopular. As a leader, you always face that.
And at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with gender. It's the quality of the decision.
It's the quality of the decision, but also it's not just that. It's the whole perspective. The whole, a complete perspective includes a gender perspective. And I hope that all leaders should have that complete perspective, whether or not man or woman.
Thank you so much. And
Pleasure.
I'll leave you to go back to your financial accounting.
I shall do that. Thank you very much for dropping by.
Thank you. Well, finally, this is exactly 1 year that you've been on the job. So how do you feel about it? What are the main sort of challenges that you've sort of been facing, and your first year at
Well,
the
the
office?
first challenge is to stay fit and to keep up, because we're not short of work to do, we're not short of challenges, we're not short of solutions to be found. So that's...
Is it a 24-hour job for you?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I do wake up quite often in the middle of the night to check, what's going on, what the teams are doing in such and such corner of the world. Yeah, it's a 24-hour job.
Do you have good sleep? Or can you
I have to, yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Madame Lagarde, and it's great to see you, and you've got your lovely batik scarf on now.
Yes, it's my trophy. Indonesian, beautiful, beautiful fabrics.
Okay,
yes.
And thank you once again.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure.
Pleasure for me too.
Hello, Mr. Lagarde, welcome. Glad to see you again. How are you? All right, yes, all right.
I am asked to be part of this meeting.
As Indonesia has progressed economically, so too has its relations with the IMF. Indonesia's economic situation and ability to manage its debt well means that the country can now play a much more collaborative role with the IMF and even contribute to the fund whenever needed as a member. Moreover, given the crisis in Europe and Asia's economic achievements, it should enable the IMF to recognize the growing need to give a greater voice to the emerging economies on how the fund is run. And that's all for tonight's episode. Don't forget to join me next month when we meet another figure who makes a difference to our lives here on Face to Face with Desi Anwar, bringing you